yet.
Chiefs win 26-25.
Woo!
Week 2 against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals does not fall in their favor after meltdowns by Ja'Marr Chase. And some would say meltdowns by the Chiefs. The Chiefs still prevail 26-25. Matthew Lane, what a day.
Yeah, that was a game.
Yep.
I'm not even in like the mental headspace to victory lap on the Froggles right now. Like
I'm still gonna get my barbs in.
Sure, but I'm gonna need a day. I'm gonna need like 12 hours from now. Then we'll start shooting off all the shots at the Froggles for what they did, especially Ja'Marr Chase. But like until then, like I need a second to process that because that was ugly. That was scary. There was a lot going on, but in the end, the Chiefs knew what they were doing when they busted out the checkbook for the highest paid kicker in the NFL. Harrison Butker brings it home. So let's go.
Yeah, no, big kick by Harrison Butker on a game. I don't think the Chiefs really deserve to win. But
you call that right now.
Yeah, I mean I think they got played most of that football game and they still survive. We are here. We've got Geoff Schwartz jumping in. So we are really excited to get him on here in a second. But yeah, Chiefs win 26-25. And there's Geoff Schwartz.
What's up?
Geoff, what a game, man.
It's look, there's a phrase in college called like win your clunkers, where you sort of just win the bad games you play. And this is one of those, right? Because I don't think the Chiefs played their best. And what I thought the Bengals did well is they attacked the Chief weaknesses, the linebackers and the left tackle. And, they need a touchdown on a fumble. They need a Wanya Morris to score. And man, they got it done though. But look, they just keep battling right to the very end. And they do enough. They got good players, and it's a good win. And now you have a tiebreaker against two teams that you're going to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, and both of those teams now go to 0-2 as well. So you've got the Baltimore Ravens going to 0-2, and you've got Cincinnati Bengals going 0-2. That's two competitors in the AFC that are now, without the tiebreaker, now 2 games back of the Chiefs as well. Yeah. So that's absolutely massive. Geoff, I want to start off with, I think one of the big storylines, and there's a million big storylines in this game. There's just all these little micro stories within this game. But one of them, obviously you talk about exploiting the issues that the Chiefs had at the left tackle position. Kingsley Suamataia has a rough performance against a great pass rusher who had the Chiefs cadence down pat. Like, this was just a fantastic performance from Trey Hendrickson. He was an absolute monster. Kingsley struggles with him, eventually gets benched by Wanya Morris. What were your thoughts on that performance there?
Look, I think that it is a tough situation to be a rookie in the NFL and play in a game like this, right? Like this is a week two game that felt like a playoff game, right? You're not getting that if you're Joe Alt today playing in Carolina, right? You're not getting that, if you're Olu Fashanu didn't even play today, right? Like you're not getting that in these situations. And so it was a tough matchup for him. And the Chiefs do not give their tackles help. They never do that. They did at the end. They sort of had to. But look, Wanya at the moment provided more pass protection. I don't think Kingsley's being benched. I think he'll be right back as a starter against the Falcons next week. But Look, you do what you have to do. And the Chiefs are fortunate to have someone come in and help them a little bit. They just did a great job, I think, of exploiting, the two issues with the Chiefs right now, which is left tackle and middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, specifically at the tackle spot. I mean, Trey Hendrickson, you just kind of watched how I think Kingsley played even in week one, and just you kind of circled this matchup. This is the type of rusher I think that's going to give him a couple issues because it's the hand placement stuff. It's being able to get on his back, his outside hip. So it wasn't surprising to see, I guess, him need a little bit more help in this game than the Chiefs wanted to give him. What really stuck out to me, though, was when the few times they did try to chip, it seemed like there wasn't great cohesion between the running backs and Kingsley when they were going out for the chip. They rarely made contact. It didn't seem like Sua Mateo was setting properly to withstand a power rush or an inside move on that. So I just wanted to ask you, Geoff, real quick while we're here, how much of that is just getting more time working together? Is that something that you think the Chiefs can kind of work on when they do have to offer him a little bit of help, getting a little bit better with that process of the chipping and the backs coming out of the backfield?
So this is why the practice part of it is huge, right? Because you have to be able to time that up right. We're what happens a lot of times if the tackle goes too far and the chip comes to help him out, then the defensive end goes inside, right? And that's why we don't like it when you chip us without giving us a warning. We'd rather actually have no chip rather than you just giving it to us without actually calling. Now, at the end of the game, they definitely called it. And you saw Morris was able to really set with the running back there. So that's part of the problem is if you don't practice that, and Kingsley, he's a rookie, he has not had a lot of time practicing the chip help. That's you get in trouble too. Plus the way he passed it, it's a bad matchup. He doesn't use his hands well enough quite yet. And he turns the corner too soon. And Trey Hendrickson was a problem, man. And people say, well, just help him. It's tougher than that, right? Because what happens is this, right? Here, I'll explain to you. So the Chiefs, their pass concepts are a lot of 3 and 4 man sort of floods, right? They want 3 or 4 guys into a certain part of the field, right? Because then you get the layers. And in the West Coast offense, you have that triangle, right? Where you read the triangle of 3 wide receivers, sort of, you can position that triangle any way you want it. Well, when you have someone chip, that's one less guy in that concept now. So you go from having a 4-man concept to a 3-man concept or 3-man. The Chiefs rarely have 2-man concepts. So it makes it really tough to run the offense you want to run. Plus, too, do you want Travis Kelce to chip or go in a route? That's why they just don't do it very much.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point. What do you think of Wanya Morris's limited snaps there?
I didn't even realize he was in until the very end. Until got the hands to the face.
Yeah, which may not have been a bad thing, all things considered, with how some of that stuff was going for Kingsley earlier in that game too. But Mahomes, kind of has a an up and down performance here, makes some fantastic throws, leaves a couple on the field. Kind of makes a mistake in the middle of the field to Travis, not seeing a backer. That's a very uncharacteristic mistake for Mahomes.
Yeah, he's had 2 of those. He had one last game too, right? It's the offense is interesting right now because they're not really feeding Kelce right now. They're almost using him as a decoy. I feel like a lot of times they're letting Rice get a lot of it and Worthy. And look, I've long contended that this is Kelce's last season. He's played a lot of football in his career, and the goal is just getting him to the postseason. That's it. The goal is not, he can have 0 catches for all I care between now and the postseason. It's just, he got to be ready to play in the postseason. So they're using him as a decoy. I think sometimes he tries to force Kelce just so Kelce gets a couple catches and, Taylor's in the crowd cheering for him. But, he's probably not a guy every week that you're going to rely upon to carry the workload offensively. And I think they're going to, find ways to figure out sort of how the offense works without Kelce, being a 10 catch guy. Sometimes I think he just tries to force, that throw to Kelce sometimes. And it's week 2, they'll figure it out. But I think that's sort of what Mahomes is doing right now.
And the passing game just felt a little out of sync this game. Like the Ravens game, the numbers weren't eye-popping. It wasn't like the offense was perfect, but they kind of ran the game through Rashee Rice and it was working well. They seemed to have an idea of what they wanted to do and there was confidence to it. And then you flip it over to this game and it didn't seem like the Chiefs had as good of an idea how to attack this Lou Anarumo defense and how to make Rashee Rice the go-to guy, how to get Xavier Worthy more involved vertically when they were sitting so deep in this too high shell. And then you add on, after about mid-second quarter, Trey Hendrickson really took this game over. So the pass game just felt a little out of sync all game long. Thankfully, the Chiefs did get the run game going a little bit this week. The Bengals defensive line isn't the best, especially right up the middle. So the Chiefs were able to take advantage of that. So is there anything you saw out of the Chiefs run game that really stood out? Or do you think that it was just a good matchup for those big guys up front, Geoff?
Well, a couple things. One is the Bengals defense plays this team really well. So I don't know what it is. It's just, I wouldn't put too much into guys not being open or whatnot. But as Tony Romo mentioned, this is certainly true. I thought Romo actually was good today. I thought he's sort of slacked off a little bit. I think today he felt very prepared for this game. is that, the Bengals play a lot of too high in Kansas City. And what you do against 2 eyes, you run the ball. There's less guys in the box, and you have a really good interior offensive line. Tooney looks very healthy right now. So you run the football. Plus, Hill went out early in the game at a hamstring injury. And then you avoid, obviously, getting in a situation when you have to pass the ball and have the matchups you don't want to see, which is your left tackle against Hendrickson. So the ability to run the ball, I think, was great to see. It's not, I think, what they're going to be every week. But they ran the ball well today. They did a good job. If Steele doesn't fumble that ball, it's a near perfect game from the running backs. They did a really good job today.
Yeah, I thought they had a really strong performance. Geoff, you're talking about the uniqueness of the Chiefs inside 10 yards at the goal line and in those angle situations. They're just getting weird again, and Wanya Morris is the benefactor. I'm calling it boys to men, right? That's what I'm calling it after Wanya Morris, who's a member of Boys to Men. But what'd you see out of that red zone offense today?
It's just always going to be unique. They did that one play, I think before the Wanya play, where they threw it to Kelsey, but he ran backwards like 5 yards to catch the ball. It's like his brain haywires in the low red zone. I don't know what it is. Look, the Morris play could be anyone. You could have Gray there. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It just ends up being a big extra offensive lineman. Now they have to defend that the rest of the season. I don't know what it is, because they were running the ball well too, and then it sort of got into the field closed up on them, and they weren't able to run it as well. So they'll be fine, I think. But there always seems to be a problem.
Well, my favorite part in that low red zone was Wanya Morris's touchdown, but I was so focused on Leo Chenal's 4-point stance as a fullback that I didn't even notice that they had a lineman eligible out there. So that was fun. And yeah, I mean, Andy does that down in the red zone. I think we're going to flip over real quick to the defensive side of the ball. And the Chiefs defense, they forced some big stops when they needed them. They obviously get the fumble of Joe Burrow, but what was the biggest thing that stuck out to you about the Chiefs defense in this game?
Linebackers. It's a problem in pass coverage. I don't know what they're going to do about it. There's not much to do. I mean, maybe Tranquil plays more, but he's not a middle linebacker in the run game, right? So I don't know what they do. But Chris Jones showed up when he had to. I thought Karlaftis had a big sack. I think they did okay. I mean, again, it's a tough offense to face. You got a lot of weapons out there. They did well on Chase. They were fine on Chase. It was the tight ends that really killed them. So I thought the defense was fine. They're not going to be as good as last season, but they don't need to be because the offense is better.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And not to get too hung up on the linebackers, not that the linebackers are the same as last year. Willie Gay definitely played, a lot of snaps there, but he's not patrolling the middle of the field as much as he's playing out, in a curl. So I guess I don't know what do you think the difference is this year coverage wise for the linebackers? Is it just Bolt still getting back into shape? What do you think it is?
Well, when you had Bolton and Gay, you put Bolton in the box, you let Gay be that guy. And against Joe Burrow, because he's able to move so much, I think they just put Tranquil in the box and sort of let Bolton roam around a little bit. And they just did a good job of isolating him, I thought. And, when the rush didn't get home, Burrow was able to sort of, make sure the tight ends, got open a little bit late. So that's what I saw. I got to go back and watch the film to really see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I think that's, we saw it against the Ravens with likely getting out to the flat a ton. We saw the same thing here. That's obviously something the Chiefs are going to have to deal with. I was just generally impressed how they had good answers for Jamar Chase. The Bengals were clearly trying to get him more involved than they did last week. And Trent McDuffie played an outstanding game, matching up with him a lot of times, but the Chiefs still did the Spags thing where they bracket him. And then it was that final play, that final sack on Joe Burrow where they stepped down with Shamari Connor to showcase that same bracket, and they sent him on the blitz. Just Steve Spagnuolo saved it for the second half. But he was still out there. I think he called a pretty good game. So I do think the defense will be able to rebound from this. It's just they do got to have that answer for the linebacker spot. But I do think Spags had a pretty good game overall when they needed to on some of those late game situations. Yeah,
that pressure, that little sort of will free safety pressure they had there to get it. I mean, they'd done that all game, and I think Romo was even saying throw the ball over here, and boom, Connor came right. I mean, you save those for those moments, right? And Burrow didn't see it. We looked left, pressure came right. And, when you bring in pressure from one side, you drop zone on the other side. So Burrow just saw a bunch of Chiefs defenders, didn't get back. He had a one-on-one on the other side, just didn't see it. It was a good job of timing that up. I mean, look, it's all you pay Spags all that money, right? You wait for that exact moment.
Absolutely. Well, Geoff Schwartz, thank you for spending some time with us today on the KCSM postgame show. Appreciate you, man.
Take care, guys. Talk to you guys next week.
Yes, sir. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNpost. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNPOST. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNpost. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Thanks again to Geoff Schwartz for coming on with us. Chiefs win Super Bowl CIN 26-25 after a Harrison Butker field goal. Feels good to win that game, even though the Chiefs didn't play their best performance. Why, Tucker? Why you what's up, buddy?
I jumped in because I wanted to know what Roman numeral that would be.
I don't know what Roman numeral that would be, honestly.
FRAUD.
Thank you, Tucker. But yeah, Chiefs. The Chiefs pull it off, 26-25. And Maddie, I mean, I said it off the top. It didn't feel like a game that the Chiefs necessarily deserved to win. Like, they lose the turnover battle. They make some big mistakes, and the offense doesn't really, it kind of sputters for a large chunk of the game. They get a
Listen,
key.
no. Let's go positive. We're going back defense. Let's go talk to the defense. I think the defense didn't play great this game, but there's some stuff we got to talk about in the defense that I think was fantastic.
Okay.
The best football player on the field was Trent McDuffie. I mean, I think we got to circle back to this. We got to come back to the fact that Trent McDuffie is out here. He's getting a lot of one-on-one assignments with Jamar Chase. He's getting a lot of assignments where he's having to come up and be the force defender. I mean, everyone saw it. They forced a penalty on Jamar Chase because he got mad. He got tackled, I guess. And that pushed them back out. They ended up drilling, like a field goal out of it. And but that changes the dynamic of the game. They saw him locking him up in the red zone routinely. I think the way McDuffie played this game kept it a lot closer than the game could have been for a while. I'm with you. Overall, I don't think the Chiefs played good enough to keep this game as close as they did. They got lucky, not lucky, but they played good to force the Bengals into a lot of field goals where they probably weren't playing good enough to do so without McDuffie playing as good as he did. So I really do think I didn't want to save him for Toast Game because his performance, I think, seems bigger than that. And that I think if it wasn't for him playing as good as he did, I don't think this game's even close. I think the Bengals kind of run away with it because he impacted not only directly the game, but how the Bengals could call it. They couldn't find a way to get Jamar Chase the ball. Joe Burrow's really good at going 1, 2, 3. Here's my first read. Okay, second read, third, getting through the progressions real quick to find what he wants. He was lingering trying to get Jamar Chase the ball, and it just wasn't available. So that was a big thing.
Well, and I will say some of the reason that the tight ends were so open was partially because the Chiefs were paying a ton of attention to Jamar Chase.
We bracketed him a lot too.
Yeah, Jamar Chase ends with what he wanted for a contract: 4 catches, 35. He wanted 435 on his deal, and that was his stat line in this game. And one huge meltdown penalty that kind of stalled out a Bengals drive, which was kind of delicious. But yeah, Trent McDuffie was outstanding, man. He just continues to play exceptional football, and I think this is another a sign of growth for him. This is another step for him getting to match up a lot against Jamar Chase and really do a tremendous job against him. That PI that he got called was ridiculous. I mean, Jamar Chase was the one pulling him down. I'm not even sure Trent McDuffie had hands on Jamar. I'm not even sure he was making contact with Jamar as he was getting pulled down. And they still, they call it. But I thought, what Trent McDuffie did was absolutely incredible. And, I think the other guy that really stood out on the defensive side of the ball, in the biggest moments was Chris Jones. Chris Jones goes out and makes that big play that forces the fumble that really, that play was dead to rights before the play was even, before Burrow even dropped back, eventually forces the fumble. So, it was timely moments for the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, I mean, one of the touchdowns the Chiefs give up is on a short field. It's right after a turnover. So it's you got to give them credit for tightening some things up and keeping, the Bengals out of the red zone more than they did. Yeah.
And I mean,
end zone. Sorry. Yeah. You know what I meant.
You're good. No. And so, yeah, I think the Chiefs, Chris Jones was great. And we saw that Chris Jones controlled a lot of what happened in the pocket. There was even plays early in the game in the first half where Burrow was essentially hitting the back of his drop. And Chris Jones was going to win real quick. But Burrow just like seemed to already know what was happening and he was getting out of dodge. And like it didn't result in a ton of negative plays to start the game, but they started to pile up. You started to see Karlaftis, Dana. You started to see other guys clean up some of these plays. So Chris Jones, Trey McDuffie, I think we're carrying a lot of the water for this defensive performance that, again, I want to be very clear. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. It's just they came up with really big plays where it really mattered down the stretch. And I think that was big for the team. I'm excited to go back and rewatch and see what Leo Chenal did because, like, outside of Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie, like, nobody really popped out to me as having a great game. And, like, again, you look at how many points the Chiefs gave up on the defense, you wouldn't ever say they did a fantastic job, but they were doing just enough. It felt like a game where the defense was doing just enough. They came up with some really big plays, the sack, the touchdown, obviously, some of Trent McDuffie's plays, Chris Jones' pressures. They came up with big plays, but down in and down out, they didn't seem like they consistently had a great plan for completely stopping the Bengals, but they came up with the best two players came up with the best plays when they needed to over and over again.
And the Bengals continued to just exploit tight ends. Like when they targeted tight ends ad nauseum. Like it was insane. Like
in the corner too. Okay. Yeah. And I'm gonna say this. I think the cornerback spot outside Trey McDuffie was also a problem. Like we can say it was a lot of the tight ends. Najee Johnson played a lot in the first half. I don't know how much he played in the second half, but it didn't look good. Like I know he gave up like the one touchdown on a great catch. I think there was about another one that might have been a penalty, but it wasn't like he was playing great. I think he was giving up a lot of open guys. So then they immediately bring in Josh Williams, and then he misses a tackle out in the flat. And like you'd already seen, they had lost a little bit of trust in him because he got benched for Najee Johnson. Jalen Watson overall played pretty well. I know he gave up that big long play to Jermaine Burton. But he just kind of caught sleeping. The Bengals hadn't pushed the ball downfield at all. He got caught sleeping. They kind of threw a shot play. He got. It happens. But like the cornerback position as well wasn't exactly great. So a better pass protection, maybe a team can exploit them going forward. So yeah, the Chiefs definitely have some stuff to work on in the coverage unit, both at the linebacker spot and at those corner spots across from Trent.
And I will say, I don't think there's very many teams that have three capable tight ends like the Bengals do, like Gesicki, Eric All, and Drew Sample. Like I think they're capable tight ends that I don't think there's gonna be a ton of teams that are gonna have three of those guys necessarily. But they're still just structurally they did a lot to get those guys open. But I look at Joshua Williams had that struggle on the play out in the flat with Mike Gesicki where he had him dead to rights, and you're getting cooked by Mike Gesicki, the worst gritty in the world other than mine. Like, I don't know, man. Like there was some struggles there, but hey, look, that forced fumble, that kind of changed the game. Like that fumble 6 kind of changed the game for the Chiefs. A big play by Shamari Connor scooping that one and scoring.
Oh yeah, that was obviously changed the game there, right? I thought. And speaking of Connor, I think he had a good bounce back game in the Ravens game where he was flying around with his hair on fire. Like he had a pretty solid game. So overall, nobody played bad for the Chiefs defense. They just played relatively, they did their thing. They let their best players come up and make the plays. And then it was just up to the offense to do with what they could. And that's where the team really struggled. Like unless you have more in the defense, we can kind of shift back to the offense.
No, I think we can go back to the offense. Like what was the big theme for you that kind of stuck out?
It was just disjointed. Like the passing game in particular was really disjointed. And then like part of me, and this is like more theoretical, is I wonder if knowing you're coming into a game and wanting to rely on the run game so much because the Bengals were inviting it, I just wonder how much of that kind of made the pass game feel a little bit more disjointed. Like we're going to see in these highlights, the Chiefs are running the ball great. The offensive line getting great push. The running backs, when they're hitting the holes, are doing a fantastic job getting downhill and picking up chunk yards. The problem is that kind of closes up when you get deep into the red zone, when the safeties can actually now play into the run fit. And it felt like the Chiefs just didn't have a great kind of rhythm to their passing attack. They didn't have a good plan for figuring out how to get going with the ball in the air. And I just wonder if that is because they did try to lean on the run game a little bit more, and they were just a little bit behind the 8 ball when they did drop back to pass.
Well, and I think one thing, like when you look at I don't have the stats in front of me on second half first half rundown splits, but like they struggled to run the ball as effectively in the second half on some of those early downs. And like, especially late in the game, even when BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins are out of the game, the Chiefs struggled their most trying to run the football a little bit. Some of these, 4, 5, 6 yard carries were looking a lot more like 1 and 2 at times. And that was kind of putting them behind the sticks a little bit. And that was making it kind of difficult. Right. So, early on, I thought the run game was looking great. And it was. Hey, look, that's where one of the fumbles happens with, young rookie Carson Steele learning his lesson and getting his welcome to the NFL moment with the fumble. Glad to see the Chiefs that, still came back to him. I think that was big for his confidence. Continue to go back there, goes and converts a big first down later in the game. But take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, and sometimes bad things happen. Although, hey, Mahomes made his own mistakes too. It's so weird. This Mahomes versus the Bengals it's just weird, man. Like, things happen in these games, and it doesn't seem like the Bengals were doing anything crazy. I mean, the interception he throws is Tampa. It's static Tampa too. It is not some elaborate coverage. It is not, it's not like a man match. There's no drop into a man. It is spot dropping. And the guys read his eyes, has a guy open out in the flat. He tried to drive one into Travis Kelce in the middle of the field. And I think that's really the only answer for it.
It was just bad. I mean, it was a weird concept too. I mean, they just ran like, that corner flat, kind of like a smash. Yeah,
smash mirror. It's like it's a day one install. It's
Kelce
a day
sit
one
over
install.
the ball, right? And I get it. Mahomes comes out and looks left, right? And then you're going to come back and like you're coming back to the middle. And theoretically, it's a good idea. If the mic's bailing, theoretically, it's a good idea to go to Travis Kelce. But he should know in the back of his mind, he's a smart enough quarterback. He knows there's nothing on the backside holding that backside linebacker. That backside linebacker isn't responsible for the flat. It's the corner, right? There's nothing that's going to be out there holding that linebacker from just following his eyes and drifting underneath the mic, especially when it's one guy releases vertical, one guy releases the flat. There's nothing there. He just has to know that. And so I don't know if his plan was to beat the rotation and that late flash by a D tackle meant that he couldn't really rifle it in there and he had to throw it up and over a D tackle, or if he just kind of, went mentally blank. But it was just a bad play. That was just a bad play. The other one, the interception where Cam Taylor-Britt, I guess round of applause for Cam Taylor-Britt. I don't know. He gives up a long touchdown, which I think he thought help was going to be there, but he gives up a long touchdown to Rice, but then he comes back and makes maybe the interception of the year on a great play on a deep shot to Worthy. But that one I can at least say is just, that was just a bad throw because he didn't feel confident stepping up into it because he thought he was going to get hit off the left side because at that point, Kingsley was kind of getting beat up a lot. He doesn't get everything into it. He doesn't let Worthy really run under it. He throws the ball short into the inside-ish, which, just a bad throw. You live with just a bad throw. The bad decision, though, the bad idea of not seeing that backside linebacker, it's just, that's Mahomes versus the Bengals. And there was some other plays in this game where I thought that he did try to maybe force the ball somewhere where he didn't need to. It's like any other game, he doesn't get antsy to push the ball, not even downfield, but he doesn't get antsy to put the ball in the tight windows. But against the Fraudgles, for some reason, he is not going to take those 4-yard checkdowns all the way down the field. But you put him up against the Ravens, the Broncos, any other team he's going to, just not against them. It's crazy.
They do some, the game is always just, it's unique, man. Some would say weird. It's just like the Bengals have these long sustained drives and stuff that will kind of just constrict put the little pressure on the Chiefs. Like, it's a 3-3 football game. Bengals go score a touchdown, Chiefs come back, long field goal drive. Like, it just, sometimes I think the Chiefs just put a little bit of pressure on themselves it's just something that doesn't normally happen in these kind of games. Like, they just put this undue pressure on themselves. And I think that it's more mental for Mahomes than it is, anything in these games. But, it's a regular season game. Mahomes has the Bengals do not own Patrick Mahomes. Like, they don't own Patrick Mahomes. He's had some rough performances. I mean, he's also thrown some ridiculous throws against them. He beat them on a high ankle sprain, and that kind of killed any narrative that you want to have about Patrick Mahomes and the Bengals. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't make it hard on them. That doesn't mean that this wasn't a challenge and this wasn't, akin to some of the struggles and things that we've seen from this team and from Patrick Mahomes in these games.
Yeah. For me, this game it's not like I'm not going to think about this game in a couple weeks. This is just how Chiefs Bengals games usually go. I do think it's a good, learning experience for a lot of the young guys to get this kind of tough game experience, to figure out how everything's going to go and all that stuff. I 100% think that they'll do better. And it's an early season game. The Chiefs are only going to get better from this point. So this isn't like a game to cause for concern. I just think it is notable that the Chiefs versus the Ravens seem like, offensively especially, the Chiefs kind of learned something about themselves and how they wanted to attack the Ravens from last year, from their matchups. It doesn't feel like they still have any clue on what they want to do against the Bengals, besides to run the ball, which they want. This is one of the few teams they want to try to run the ball downhill against, and it works for a while. It's just, they just don't have a great feel for this. And that's, I guess, how all of these matchups go between these two teams. Is just, It's going to always be this thorn in the side of the Chiefs. It doesn't feel like they're ever going to come out and just blow this team out of the water. They're never going to come out when they are clearly a more talented football team and just beat them. And like, it's unfortunate, but like, it won't matter in a couple weeks. It's a frustrating thing to watch the Chiefs and the Bengals always come down to the last second of the fourth quarter.
I think it's always just the timeliness of the mistakes the Chiefs make in these games is typically just like at the worst time. It's like, like right after a 6-minute, 70-yard touchdown drive to take the lead, then the Chiefs throw their interception, right? Like, oh, the Chiefs have a chance to double dip and run the clock out, and they fumble the football, give up a field goal, and, go down 16-10 before the half and kind of kill their chances of double dipping. It's just like dumb stuff like this happens more against this Bengals team. But the good news is, here's the thing. I think that's been a theme throughout all these games. Just like sometimes it's the least timely mistakes and dumb luck. However, the Bengals have done some really dumb stuff in the last couple times that these two teams have played as well. We have Joseph Osai pushing Mahomes out of bounds as the clock is expiring, so Harrison Butker can kick a game-winning field goal and take it in. The Chiefs can go to the Super Bowl. Today, you have Jamar Chase melting down for no reason whatsoever, somehow believing he has the ability to identify a hip drop tackle as it's happening, and melting down on a referee after reports come out that he's refusing to negotiate a contract. He's frustrated. He doesn't want to get paid, considers holding out, blah, 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 blah. And he makes a critical mistake. Then a 7th round pick safety makes a boneheaded PI, play that kind of gives the Chiefs. So like, there's no like mystique about the Bengals to me anymore. They bungled that game the same way Joseph Osai bungled that game in the AFC Championship a few years ago. So like, I think the shine is wearing off the Bengals, and I think this team should be treated as such moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's been what? We're nearing 1,000. The Cincinnati Bengals won't win a game in Arrowhead for over 1,000 days if they do. Like the next time they'll have a chance to win a game in Arrowhead will be the playoffs. It'll be over 1,000 days since they last won a game here. Like, this was a very fun rivalry, and the game is still very close. Like, obviously these games are close. They're very weird, but like, this is no longer just like that thing anymore. I don't think. I really don't think it's as big of a deal as it once was. The Bengals now, I said this in our kind of private chat, I think it's infuriating how the Bengals always play one of their better games versus the Chiefs every single year. Every time these two teams match up, and the Chiefs always play a mid-level game. And maybe that is a hat tip to the Bengals for forcing it out of the Chiefs, right? I don't want to say it's completely dumb luck that this happens, but they always seem to play a better game. Well, the Bengals now, a couple times, they have not played their best game in the fourth quarter. Maybe they've played their best game through 3 quarters, but they're starting to melt down a little bit in the fourth quarter too. It's like they're starting to feel the pressure. You have Chase, you get some DPIs, you have Joe Burrow not recognizing a blitz, which is a great call by Spags, but there's just moments in the last, I'm not including the Browning game, but the last 2 times that Joe Burrow has faced the Chiefs, there have been pivotal moments late in the game where the Chiefs have clearly been the team executing better. And so like that is, I think, a switch flipping, because if both teams execute near their ceiling, I don't think this game is close. The Bengals just did it for longer in this game, and the Chiefs did it the more when it mattered at the end of the day. And so that's what it is. And I'm watching this final DPI play. One, it's clear as day this was DPI on the 4th down play. Like, it's not even questionable, but he kind of had to. I don't think the DB is in position to make a contest for this ball without going through Rashee Rice. Like, this is actually a pretty good throw and a pretty good spot, like, for this football to be. I don't know if there's really much of a choice for this safety, nickelback, whatever he is, to get to this football without having to go through Rashee Rice. Like, we're going to skip over it because we're going to talk about the flag. That was actually a really good throw by Mahomes on the move in that moment.
Well, he had a couple big plays that got called back too. Like, it wasn't like,
yeah.
Mahomes made some mistakes that are uncharacteristic of him, but he also still had some of those spectacular moments in this game too, and they just got called back, like the throw to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has a nice little game with that catch. If that hold doesn't get called, by the way, that was offsides by the Bengals. Actually, I think the Bengals had a pretty good, especially Trey Hendrickson. I thought Trey Hendrickson had an incredible beat on the Chiefs' cadence, because he's already a great pass rusher. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not discrediting him, but he was so quickly off the ball so consistently in that game. And it was extremely well timed. Like, he had the cadence, and that last snap right before the false start, he, like, they had the cadence, and they got it, and he got that great play and that great get off, and then the next play they get him off on the offsides because I think they tweaked the cadence just a little bit. So I don't know. They no call on the cadence, by the way, but that's still frustrating. It's okay. I don't know, something of interest. I think that's going to be one thing, as I think we're going to appreciate Trey Hendrickson's get off on this game when you go back and watch it. We're going to take a break, and we will be back right after this.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Chiefs win 26-25. Tucker D. Franklin is now on with us. He's been scouring the internet for quotes from Andy Reid and any Bengals cope that might be bleeding onto our social medias. Anything of interest so far, Tuck?
Well, I was doing a little bit of research in the Tucker D. Franklin research department back here. I did find out when the Burrowhead term was officially coined. It was after the Buffalo Bills game when they beat them in the snow downpour. We had a little bit of an offensive line. We thought their offensive line was going to actually be good. Turns out they weren't. That was coined there. Since the Burrowhead incident, I'm about to tweet this out. Since the Burrowhead incident, the Bengals are 9-11. They've won 9 games and have lost 11 since they have called Arrowhead Burrowhead.
Huh. Interesting.
Doing a little bit of research. Also, another fact from the Tucker D. Franklin research department. There's no N Roman numeral. So cannot be CIN in terms of Roman numerals, but CI is 101.
It's just a Bengals joke. Just let me have that.
Sorry. Also, I do want to talk about this. You guys haven't really talked about this. Did Travis Hunter walk so Leo Chanel could run?
What do you mean by that?
No, I get exactly what you mean. Yes.
You know exactly what I'm saying.
The answer is 100% yes, obviously. Like, there's no
Leo
way
Chanel more offensive snaps is what I'm trying to say.
So I guess what we really need is we need Leo to get, a pass or a carry, and then we can say this is really coming true. So, we're on the fringe right now. Leo's in the block. Leo's down in that 4-point stance in the block. He is ready to take that baton from Travis Hunter.
The tweet's in the drafts, I should say. Tweet's in the drafts.
Ken's so upset right now, Tuck.
Leo Chanel was gonna be my toast game because I just love watching that man.
Did you really think that I was gonna come on here and not talk about Leo Chanel? The first thing that I come on is he's come in a full point stance as a fullback. Chiefs ran the fullback dive a lot today, by the way, with Carson Steele. Loved it. I thought it was incredible. And one of my favorite tweets, we'll just read my Twitter timeline. That's what I'm going to do as I hop on here. One of my favorite tweets that I made today was Carson Steele runs like he has a middle bar face mask. Because he does.
Good. That's pretty good. Tucker, anything from Andy Reid's press conference that you found so far?
No, the department was working on other things before.
Okay, I do have a couple from you. Andy Reid on Kingsley Suamataia. Kingsley can put this experience away and learn from it. I took him out of the game. Sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. Was a little bit non-committal about whether or not Kingsley was going to return as the starting left tackle for this team. So there is a little bit of mystery about whether or not Kingsley will return to play the starting left tackle in this particular game coming up. So I think Andy Reid is leaving the door open for Wanya Morris to be the starting left tackle in this game. Patrick Mahomes, I thought we did a lot of good things, but the turnovers can't happen. Yeah, I mean, I think they did some good stuff running the football, and I think there's some moments in the passing game for sure. But yeah, the Bengals do a good job of they're one of the best teams at keeping the Chiefs or forcing the Chiefs to make those long sustained drives. They do it better. I think that's probably what it is they actually do it better than anybody.
But the Chiefs are so hesitant to do it against them. That's what I don't get. That's where it really confused me. Other teams can make them do it, and the Chiefs are like, okay, fine. We're going to do this, and we're going to have a great time. Against them, they just almost feel like they have to push the ball downfield. Or maybe it's because you look again on paper at the defense, you're like, well, they're not that good in the back, and they're not that good on the second level. We can make these things happen. And then it doesn't. I don't know what the thing is, but the Chiefs are much more willing to play short ball control football on offense against every other team in the NFL than they are the Fraud Goals. And it's just kind of wild to watch. But then it takes me back. How are they going to do it in this game? they couldn't get, and maybe they didn't try. We got to go back and watch. But like, what happened to the Rashee Rice focus? Where was the Rashee Rice emphasis on the short to intermediate stuff that we saw last week? They tried to get Xavier Worthy deep a couple times, and a couple times pressure got there before they could release it. They obviously threw the interception, but they were getting him going across the field a lot horizontally on motion and doing a lot of mesh stuff with him last week. Was it just not there? Was it not getting open? Like, the emphasis for two things that their best two wide receivers do right now, they weren't. Where were the Juju Smith-Schuster got no targets, and like didn't get a lot versus the Ravens, but they just seemed very uncomfortable with how they had to attack the Fraudgles defense, and like, that's a credit to them.
By the way, do you know who led the Chiefs tight ends in catches and yards receiving?
Catches?
Well, technically he's tied with Travis Kelce, but Jared Wiley had 7-yard catch, and that led the Chiefs tight ends. Noah Gray, 0
2 catches, so my bad.
No, Kelce had 1 catch for 5 yards.
One.
Jared Wiley 1 catch for 7 yards. Noah Gray 0 catches.
He was so far back on that screen. Okay, I think there was 2, but no, he was so far backwards on the screen. Okay,
He was pretty far back.
They counted it as a run. And by the way, Sam Hubbard almost got that. That was an incredible play by Sam Hubbard. Like, and that's a lateral. So if he bats that down, he might house that. I think that would be like the second time Sam Hubbard's done that in his career. It's like,
same thing. The Fraudgles just have a really good feel of what the Chiefs are trying to do. Like, that goes to what I think that they just don't ever feel comfortable attacking that defense. And I really don't know why that they don't, but they just really don't. Have we talked about Isaiah Pacheco's injury yet? Have we?
We will in a second, but Tucker D. Franklin's got something.
I had a stat. A Pacheco injury update probably is more important than my stat, but Next Gen Stat says Chiefs quarterback Trent McDuffie aligned across from Jamar Chase on 17 of his 38. Nice. Routes, including 4 routes in press coverage. McDuffie just allowed 1 reception for 4 yards on 2 targets as the nearest defender against Jamar Crybaby Chase. Look, who stop me if you guys were shocked if Jamar Chase was being selfish wasn't on your Pingo card. I mean,
dude,
that's the least surprising thing ever. Jamar Chase inducing a selfish penalty. Shocker. I was floored.
I think that there is a chance that game is a meltdown moment for the Cincinnati Bengals organization. There's already been just talks about this offseason being bizarre. Trey Hendrickson asked for a trade at one point in April. You've got the T. Higgins not getting paid. You've got Jamar Chase saga that is still happening. As of last night, there's reports coming out about this saga. Joe Burrow in the hand. Joe Burrow looked good, though. Hey, he looked better. The hand looked okay.
That throw to Jermaine Burton, like, caught me off guard because we'd not seen that at all this year. Then all of a sudden, it was like,
off guard too.
It caught everybody off guard. But I think, and then you see the Jamar Chase meltdown with everything going on. This team goes 0-2. The chances of going 0-2 in the play, in making the playoffs, not particularly strong. The Ravens and the Bengals are both 0-2 now. One of them's very likely not to make the playoffs, and maybe both of them at this point. Like, the chance, like 0-2 teams, it's like an 80% chance you miss the playoffs. You've got 2 AFC presumed contenders come into Arrowhead, can't win. Both are now 0-2 respectively.
Same division.
Problematic. I think, and it's the same. They're going to be eating themselves alive. Like, the Steelers are salty, the Browns are salty. Like, that division is going to eat themselves alive. But that might be a meltdown moment for the Cincinnati Bengals organization and this version of the Bengals as we know it. Seriously, I mean, like, it's a mess over there right now, and now they're 0-2. Like, this is Patrick Mahomes again, just tamping down the legacies of other quarterbacks. It could be quite delicious if this is like a meltdown moment for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Maddie, do you want to give the injury update for Pacheco?
Yeah, I get this from Jeff Darlington. A lot of people have reported that Andy Reid had said that Isaiah Pacheco was getting tests and x-rays on his ankle. So it's an ankle injury. Andy didn't talk about the extent, but he is getting tests and x-rays done. Jeff Darlington did say that he interviewed Isaiah Pacheco on the field after the game, and he got zero sense that he's dealing with anything serious. We'll see. He's not trying to play doctor. He's just saying that he talked to Pacheco on the field and that he didn't get the sense that Pacheco thought it was seriously, but we are awaiting tests and x-rays.
I mean, if they let that happen, if they let a reporter talk to Pacheco, you would think that it wasn't very serious, but you never know.
Yeah, and like, I mean, just not having a great clear update is a little bit interesting, but we'll keep an eye on that.
That tackle was nasty though. That Pacheco took, it was a pretty nasty hit. Just those happen, obviously, just because it's football, but like it was not shocked that he hurt his ankle on that play.
All right, should we? You think it's time to get into toast game, gentlemen?
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just saw one stat though. The Chiefs were 1 for 8 on third down. That's rough.
Wait, can I give you a better stat though after that to kind of like cleanse the palate a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. This is from the KC Sports Network Twitter account. I don't know if you ever heard of it, at KC Sports Network. Go follow them on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Rashee Rice, 75 plus receiving yard games in 2023. He had 3 of those. Good season for Rashee Rice last year. He had 3. Rashee Rice, 75 plus receiving yard games in 2024. 2. He has had 75 plus receiving yards in both of the games this year. So while it didn't seem like they used Rashee Rice a ton, obviously a lot of that coming on that big chunk play, he's getting used a whole lot. So
He still did a lot of
On
good
that note,
stuff
I got a stat from Bill Barnwell. Patrick Mahomes now has
Stats.
more 40-plus air yard touchdowns in 2024 than he did in 2022 and 2023 combined.
Wow.
Yes, you are right. That's just one this season is more than he has had in the past 2 years combined.
And I will say this, that was a really nice kind of, I want to say maybe tendency breaker. And the reason Cam Taylor Britt turned into Cam Taylor quit on that route and kind of just, didn't really pay attention to the vertical is because, the Chiefs have run so much slant. They'd had so much slants going. Rashid gives him a little kind of nod release, like he's going to run a slant and just runs right past him. And even Taylor Britt, after he runs past him, doesn't honor the vertical right off the bat. He's kind of still I don't know, probably not. He thinks it's a runoff, and it's everything in him to try to recover on that. And he doesn't recover, and it winds up being a touchdown.
Tell you what, in the moment, I was laughing because I'm with you. Everything you just said is true. In the moment, I was laughing. I then saw him make that interception against Worthy, and I go back to that Rice play. He's about 2 inches away from being in the exact same position to pull the same catch off to that throw to Rice. So he got caught slacking and he got beat by a release. I think the safety on that side was also not respecting a deep route near as much. You watch the dots. 22 is the safety on the other side is so much further, so much wider. They weren't worried about Rashee Rice being them deep. They were worried about Xavier Worthy being them deep. So great play by Rice as a perfect throw from Patrick Mahomes. I thought we were about to get the snowball of Patrick Mahomes' great play after that. And we certainly did not, but that was a great job. I laughed at Cam Taylor Britt there, but then now I'm thinking about it man, he was, we were talking 3-4 inches away from him, maybe having a chance at another one-handed interception on that play.
But he didn't. His team lost.
Game of inches.
Again. Yeah. And the Chiefs win again. Let's get into toast game. How about it?
Yeah, I'll play the video. Don't worry about it. Here's Holiday.
Got a bottle of the KCSN Foundation 7-year bottled and bond barrel pick that we did. So enjoying that today. You got that if you were at the KCSN golf tournament, by the way. So that's what we're doing toast game with today. That's a heavy pour from a Tucker D. Franklin.
I was looking at the screen and not looking at my cup.
Okay. Well, Tucker, I'm gonna let you kick things off before you finish that.
Fellas, we were chatting a lot during the game and how this game all turned out, but it eventually turned out on the right side. And yeah, in games like this, when emotions running high, physicality ticks up a notch, right? Guys get after it. Geoff Schwartz made a great point. This was like a playoff game in week 2. Intensity at an all-time high. Arrowhead was rocking. So it's always good when you can get out of games with good health. And so it's always good. When we see Isaiah Pacheco getting checked up, doesn't seem like it's too serious, but to good health. And cheers to Jamar Chase as well. Thank you. Appreciate Jamar Chase for that win. He already wants to see the Chiefs win. So cheers.
Jamar Chase, Dijon Anthony, shout out all y'all. Real ones.
The refs.
Yep. The refs for rigging the game for the Chiefs.
Thank you for the rig. Appreciate it.
I hope Tony Romo's healthy. This is the most I enjoyed him on a game in a minute. It felt like Geoff said it too. It felt like Tony didn't feel the need to be a star this week, and I think that's been the issue for some of his latest things. Is he's always had to be the main attraction. So I thought Tony Romo did a great job. So shout out Tony Romo. That's not my toast game. I'm clearly not up yet.
He's back to anticipating motions and stuff from the Chiefs too. That was good.
Yeah, the Travis Kelce one where he just circled him and is like, he's going to do this into your. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Maddie, who is that? Your toast game?
Oh, I didn't know I was
said
up
no.
yet. No, I wasn't. I didn't know it was my turn. I'm
Sorry.
going with this is a big one. Matt Araiza, averaging 56 yards a punt, some
Great point.
boomers,
Boom.
some great punts, getting it down inside at the 1 yard line before halftime. Like that was crazy. I do not acknowledge what Tucker is doing. I thought he had some great punts, and then to come out as a guy not known as a holder and sink the hold on this game-winning field goal. Woo, big. So Matt Araiza gets this toast game.
Well, and Ryan Reckout was on the Chiefs roster 6 months ago. So he just had to go prove to the Chiefs that he made the right choice. Both guys punt twice. Reckout, 2 punts, 98 yards. Matt Araiza, 2 punts, 112 with a punt as long of 63.
Both inside the 20, one inside the 5.
My toast game will be we're gonna walk the show off with this toast game from me because Harrison Butker walked things off, literally turned his back after he kicked it, according to Sam McDowell, sinks a 51-yarder to sink the Cincinnati Bengals in their pursuit of beating the Chiefs and also establishing themselves as the team to beat in the AFC. They didn't, Jamar, and maybe don't get that penalty next time. Corey Peter.
Shout out Corey. There's my toast game.
Peter. Yeah, toast game to Corey Peter.
Thank you, Corey. You're the man.
Appreciate everybody. By the way, those donations or those super chats go to the KCSN Foundation. So when you guys do that, it goes to the KCSN Foundation.
5 out of 5 booms for Corey Peter.
Yep. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. The Chiefs are 2-0. They beat the Bengals in their Super Bowl. That is going to do it for us. For Tucker Franklin, Matt Lane, I'm Ken Swanson. Catch you later.
So the Bo Nix got sacked by TJ Watt's aura.